the beginning of a dish is so far from the end. If you see maybe what our first trial of the banga dumpling was, you probably cry because it was so bad. It was a disaster. But the fact that we kept pushing to see the various iterations and end up in a place that we thought, was good enough to share with our guests. In uni, I got the opportunity to do 2 internships in 2 different parts of the world. Okay. And sometimes, you're in that place of being like, God, let this thing just be over. I want to go home. But that 6 months, that 3 months, that 1 month, live in the moment. If you literally just dedicate your life to that thing at that point in time, you'll be better for it. Don't worry. I remember there was a place I used to work at, and Saturdays, you're finishing at like 1 a.m., you're walking home, you're seeing your mates in like the club, and you're like, bye guys, I'm going to sleep. Because this cannot be my life right now is this thing.
Up until this conversation, I had no idea the depth that went into culinary arts. But my guest today, Chef Moyo, an amazing, talented, creative, visionary chef based in Lagos, Nigeria, the founder and CEO of the Atije experience, shares her journey as a culinary artist, as a chef, and as a dreamer. On this episode of Takeaways, the podcast, she opens her eyes to her journey, to the lessons she's had to learn, the challenges she's had to face, and the takeaways that are queued up for you on this episode are mind-blowing. You're definitely going to love it, and if you rock with this, please share this with somebody who will find value in it, and enjoy. So, nice to have you on set today.
Lovely to be here.
It is truly an honor to, in terms of somebody who appreciates and understands culinary arts on a different perspective, not just on the general, but on the cultural side, as it relates to our cultural identity as Nigerians, as Africans in a broader sense. And I want to know what made you passionate about culinary arts as it relates to culture and heritage. We'll come back to your journey as to how you started, but this culture and heritage part actually is very interesting, and I don't know what motivated you to be unique, because I can confidently say I don't really know many people who do what you do.
Yeah, so I think it was culinary school. So the different years have different topics, should I say. We had cuisines of Europe, we had cuisines of the world. And when it came to cuisines of the world, you're divided into different parts of the world per week.
Okay.
And whenever it came to Africa, you could almost predict what the menu will be before the menu comes out. You know that there will be some form of South African lamb, you know that there will be somebody trying to make something out of fufu. I know that they desire to say tropical something, that will have coconut and will have some form of fruit.
Yeah.
So the African expression was very cliche. And then when I got to fine dining and what we called our food inspired restaurant, and then I had an opportunity to do my chef of the day and have my own unique menu, it was flavors from home that were resonating with me, and I wanted to share with others. And chef of the day means that I get to be the chef and I get to share the recipes. My team has to follow my directive. And the main course was a yaji venison with sweet potato pottage, and I could feel pushback from the person that I put to be in charge of the main course, kind of like that condescending attitude of, oh, why do you want to serve this? You can do other things that are so much better. And for me, I think that was a turning point, because it made me realize how misunderstood African, West African, Nigerian cuisines are all over the world, and how so many people don't believe that they are good enough to be in fine dining or to be in upscale restaurants. And I think that's where the drive started in me. And I have to, whenever I talk about my link to cultural food, I also have to talk about Itan.
Okay.
So coming back to Nigeria, I worked at Itan Test Kitchen for over a year. And I think that was what helped me understand how to interpret Nigerian cuisine into fine dining. It's not making Nigerian food look nice, not just placing it in a way that is beautiful, but it's translating the flavors and the essence of our cuisine into fine dining, which means I can give you a bowl, I can give you Haribo to eat.
Yeah.
And when you taste it, what you taste is egusi.
I would like to.
Is being able to capture those flavors in a way that is nostalgic, takes people back to their childhood, their upbringing, and therefore captures our cuisine in a very beautiful way.
That is really, really, really something, because you are very correct. We tend to do this thing where, when it comes to, at least the Nigeria to the world movement, we feel like music is the only area we should focus on. But there's also that aspect of our cultural exports in food, in the flavors that we have, bountiful flavors that we have that is not being appreciated and, giving the recognition and attention and space that it deserves. Because as you say, when you think of fine dining, everybody thinks of, I don't want to mention specific.
But we all know the one that comes to your mind first.
To mind. And the way you mention traditional Nigerian food is like, that is for the, other types of dining experiences, not fine dining. And it's really beautiful you're trying to achieve. So having understood what your passions for cultural, recognition in food is about, what would you say is that one traditional Nigerian recipe that describes your passion for food or captures who you are as a person? You guys describes you as a Nigerian. What would that be?
That is an impossible question. It's just the truth. I don't think I can encapsulate myself in a particular dish, but I can tell you, should I say, the dish that is most on my mind right now, the dish I'm enjoying most right now, and I think is one of our quintessential dishes, which is our banga, eba, and banga soup dumpling.
Oh, I love banga soup.
So the banga soup dumpling is kind of drawing from Asian cuisine, where they have soup dumplings, where you can literally bite the dumpling and then you have the soup and then you have the filling. And that was what kind of inspired me to think about it. Okay, how can we encapsulate this kind of dish in a dumpling? And I love eba and banga. I don't know. Nobody should please. That's what I like. I like the sourness of Ijebu Gari with the creaminess of banga. And so what we did first, the first iteration of the dish was a smoked turkey banga soup.
Oh.
And then we smoked the turkey, cooked it in the banga, then strained it out and blended the banga into a very smooth and beautiful sauce. Then we took that turkey that's also been cooked in the banga, shredded it. Then we made a dumpling out of a mix of flour and gari, very fine gari. Then we stuffed the turkey inside the dumpling, steamed it, and then served it on the hot banga soup. So to me, it's like very true to itself. We have the banga spices in there, the authentic, we're extracting the banga ourselves, but then it's also deepening the flavors using smoked turkey that we're smoking in-house, and then serving it with that gari that I love, finishing it with the beletete leaves, some herb oil, and it's just that very warming dish. The spices are there, they're kind of spicy, they are earthy, and it's a dish that really speaks to my soul. I love it. I really love banga.
So if I may ask, how did you come up? Because
she's the question that people are always asking me.
I couldn't resist the ask because it sounds like something that's impossible to think of, but you thought it, you created it, and you made it work.
Well, I always say that I feel like every recipe is I'm stepping on the shoulders of so many that have gone before me and that have opened our minds to see how these things can be used. And I like to push myself to see past the existing boundaries that are in our cuisine. I like to push myself to kind of encourage myself to think outside the box.
Okay.
And that is really how a lot of these things happen. And to be honest, the beginning of a dish is so far from the end. If you see maybe what our first trial of the banga dumpling was, you probably cry because it was so bad. It was a disaster. But the fact that we kept pushing to see the various iterations and end up in a place that we thought, was good enough to share with our guests, and then that's how it happens.
That is literally food innovation. Just like we're having innovation in tech, you're making innovation in food with recipes that are original to you. I know you said borrow learnings from those that have gone before, but still you have created something that was an idea and you brought it into reality. How was the idea of the Atije experience? How did you take it from an idea to your reality? How was that been for you?
So I think the first, should I say, test of the Atije concept was in the Kitchen Nigeria, which is a competition I was a part of, and it was a 3-day pop-up, and it kind of gave me the opportunity to test, okay, this thing you're saying you want to do, can you really do it? Can you really pull it off? Can you really serve these guests and they go home satisfied and happy? Yeah. And that was really the beginning. Before that though, I felt like God was preparing me for like a year, and I wasn't even aware of that He was preparing me, because a year prior to that, I was doing testing at home.
Okay.
I'll invite my friends, my mom's friends, colleagues, family, just come today, this time, come, and I'll curate a menu, and then they'll give me their feedback, and then I'll work on it again and come back again. So it was my free time I was using, my off days, trying to then curate these menus and share with them. So that was for me like a test of concept. Okay, can we do this? do you have some recipes down that you can start experimenting with and then serving guests? And then I took the leap of faith of like leaving my job and then starting pop-ups. And really, it's been a journey of constant refinement, right? It's been an opportunity to push myself creatively. We try to have a new menu every single month. That means that constant market visits, constantly iterating various things that you've done before, but also improving on them and getting better. So really, the Atije concept has been constantly tested and improved, and we're getting to be more comfortable, but we don't want to be too comfortable. So we're still pushing ourselves out there to do more creative things.
Wow. Okay. So I'll ask you this here. How long have you been on the Atije experience journey? How long has that been for you?
That's an interesting question. I think I would say 4 years.
Okay.
Right? It's probably longer when you count, but let's leave culinary school out of it. For 4 years of actively pursuing this bridge in fine dining of Nigerian cuisine, West African cuisine, and its expressions. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
It really has been an interesting journey, because listening to you talk with the depths of someone who has been in the space for longer than 4 years, or somebody who has really immersed themselves in the whole culinary process, not just from the actual cooking, but to coming up with recipes that I would like to try the one we are doing. Honestly, it sounds amazing. And that is, it just show you how, as in any field, whether culinary, whether as a chef, whether as a business owner, whether as anything, you always have to seek innovation. There's always something new that can be done, and you are showing that. And on your journey, I'm sure you have been able to inspire multiple people to delve into culinary arts, because you are not just a culinary artist yourself and a chef. You are a young person who is on a journey that most people, even older than yourself, I myself, are too scared to embark on. So what has been your motivation, and who has been the driving force pushing you to achieve these things?
What has my motivation? I really would say that living in Lagos has been my motivation. So I came back, I moved back to Nigeria during COVID. It wasn't my plan to move back immediately, but then it's just so happened. And I felt like being here was inspiring me, because it felt like an opportunity to really do this from here. It's one thing to, let's say, be a chef in the diaspora, trying to capture flavors that you remember. Yeah. Another thing to literally be here and be experiencing that how Lagos is such a melting pot, and being able to share that with other people. So really, I think that my major driving factor is literally Lagos. It's the market, it's the people, it's the craziness, it's the traffic. Because I can literally be sitting in traffic and think, oh, what does pass me? And that is an inspiration for the next menu. I remember how it was asala nuts, those black walnuts itself. Yes. And one was like, okay, we never use that in a menu. We have to use that on our next menu. So one of my major...
You did that?
Yeah, we did.
It is true.
Yeah, we did asala in a dessert. So
how did you come up?
It's a nut now. So I was really just trying to say, how can we push that nuttiness out of it? Do we toast it? Do we try various things with that? And it was quite interesting. So one of my major motivations is the Nigerian life. Is us. The vibrant, peaceful people that we are, and how that translates into the way that we eat, how we share our food. Nigerians don't eat quietly. When we're together, there's so much joy in the way that we eat, and that has been inspiration, because every month we also have a different name for our menu. Okay. I'm just remembering at the menu that we did that was about celebration. We've done Ayo, which is joy. We've done Adupe, which is gratitude. We've done Ade, which is royalty, and reaching into these various aspects of Nigerian culture. And when it comes to people that have motivated me, my mom has been a great driving force. She's always, it's almost crazy how inspirational she is without trying to. Her mom is a very quiet person, but she's very, very, she believes in us. She believes in me. She believes in what I'm doing, and she shows it. When I did the kitchen Nigeria, she paid and she came every single night. It was a three-day pop-up. She paid and she brought a guest with her. So she paid for 2 people every single night.
No.
Like when I saw you get what I mean. She's been such an encouraging factor. My team, my husband, he has carried my matter on his head, literally. So it has been a journey of people really believing in me, even my dad. Like when I started this culinary journey, my parents were never saying, "Oh no, you cannot." It was more like, "Okay, why do you want to do this? If not this, what else?" I know that this is a very different path, but don't also feel like you're stuck here because you want to be a chef. You have to now be a chef for the rest of your life. No, is this really what you want to do? They've always been very encouraging to me. Okay, how do you want to express yourself? Okay, where do you want to work? And it's never been a "you must do this." It's always a very encouraging conversation. So I'm blessed to really be surrounded by people who have understood what I want to do and have encouraged me even when they didn't understand. Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't need to understand to support.
Yeah.
You just need to care for that person enough to know that, okay, I might not understand what you're trying to do, but I see your passion, I see your energy, and I know you just see where you are going, and I'll push you. Shout out to your mom. The worst way possible for it. Well, how would you describe your experience on the show?
The kitchen in Nigeria was a lot of work. Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was fun because it was the first time I was getting to do that on such a scale.
Yeah.
It was challenging. There were many things that went wrong. It was the first season of the show, so we were like the guinea pigs. There were so many things that went wrong, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been there and have gone through that because it's real life.
Yeah.
In life, things will always go wrong. Even when you think you've planned everything possible, things will go wrong. And so it taught me troubleshooting. It taught me about being fast on my feet. And it taught me to always think about everything that could go wrong and make allowances for those faults, make allowances for those things when they happen. It also showed me that I can be bold with Nigerian flavors.
Okay.
I can put myself out there. We had things like amala crisp and amuse bush. We had the banga dumpling. We had coconut rice. We had various things that really spoke to the heart of Nigerian cuisine. And so it was an experience for me, showing me that, okay, you can do this. This is a concept that will work in the real world. And so it was fun.
Okay. So speaking to the kitchen in Nigeria, how would you say that show was able to capture its objective in terms of bringing consciousness to the Nigerian cuisine?
So the kitchen in Nigeria was the search for chefs in Nigeria, more like Lagos's next best restaurateur.
Okay.
So it wasn't really looking for anything specific. It was just looking for people that knew what they were doing and they were really happy to express that and share that with guests. And I think the reason that I won and the reason why it was great participating was because I was very invested in the entire experience. So giving the guests the food, presenting the food, making sure that everyone got their food on time, it was hot, it was ready, and also including some level of showmanship. Something we do at Atije, which is called lemongrass. So before the palate cleanse, I give everybody a sprig of lemongrass. Maybe I should have brought lemongrass with me today so I can show you. And then they rub it in between their hands and then they smell it. And that's kind of us trying to cleanse not just their palate but their aura. So get rid of that, maybe the smell of the prawns or the fish or the meat and everything. And so it was about the intentionality behind the experience. We're not just serving you good food, but there's the holistic experience. There is the drink pairings. We pair wine. If you don't drink wine, we pair homemade juices with the experience. And so it was really being able to push out of us that holistic restaurant experience. Not just, okay, I can cook well or I can serve well, but everything coming together. And I think in that way, they did meet their objectives.
Okay, so would there be any recommendation you could make for like an upcoming edition based on your experience as a chef?
Let me give a recommendation to a chef who is in the competition, right? So if you want to be in the kitchen in Nigeria, a competition that is similar to that, it's very important that you're true to yourself. We always have that inferiority complex, that voice telling us we can't. But it's very important that even in those moments, you choose to believe in yourself and you choose to stick to your concept. Sometimes the best thing you can do is be you.
Sure.
Because when they see that, they see something different. They see something that's not just the norm. And I think that is what makes you stand out.
Brilliant. Truly brilliant. And I hope everybody takes notes. This is where we have takeaways. We can share valuable insights like those that could help the next person, become the best version of this. Especially those on a culinary journey like yours. So if I may, ask, right? What is something that you want to achieve in the near foreseeable future with the Atije experience?
Really, with Atije, it's about reaching more people.
Okay.
Yes, we have, a client base that sometimes they're consistent and we have similar people coming, but we want to keep reaching out to more and more people, Nigerians, West Africans, people from all over the globe, to share our story with them. We believe in the power of storytelling, and being able to share that story to remind people that Nigerian cuisines are so diverse. African cuisine, if you say that, for me to say that I want to make a menu that depicts Nigerian cuisine, I know I'm lying to myself. Because our cuisine is so diverse. 250 ethnic groups. How about West Africa? How about Africa at large? There's so many stories to tell. From now to the day I leave this earth, I will not finish. And I know that. And I'm happy to be on that journey of exploring and sharing. So it's about being able to tell people that there's so much more. There's so much diversity in who we are. And when we share that story, it adds, Chimamanda said that thing of the power of a single story. The more stories we can add to the understanding that the world has of us, the better they can understand us. So truly, it's the goal to keep sharing with more people, giving more people that understanding, that appreciation of the diversity of who we are as Nigerians, West Africans. Yeah.
That was so poetic. That even was a spoken word set that I'm snapping my fingers for you right now. That just shows how this is not just coming from a place of I want to do this because I want to do this. It's coming from a place of depth. You are on a journey because you want to be on that journey and you want to create positive change in the Nigerian and African culinary space. So when it comes to diversity of ingredients, you have given the very interesting recipes you've created. What is the most difficult ingredient you have ever worked with? The one that made you break a sweat?
So there are many ingredients that made me break a sweat, and sometimes it can be the most basic of them. And let me just give an example from this week. I don't even know how to start explaining it. But I want to say it by saying I'm a chef, right? I've made a lot of pastry. I'm not a pastry chef.
Okay.
I am more of a cuisine chef, but I also do pastry.
Okay.
But something that always gets me is pastry. When I say pastry, I mean short course pastry, puff pastry, making pastry for meat pies, for tarts.
Okay.
It's a frustrating experience for me. Even today, we spoke about it. I was saying, we're going to make tarts, and I was like, tarts. I looked at my team, I was like, you people want to make the tart because it's not going to be me. I don't know what it is, and I know it has to do with patience. I know it also has to do with temperature because pastry is very sensitive to temperature, to ingredients, to quantities.
Okay.
And sometimes I think I can be a bit too... Yeah. So it gets... And then, once something goes wrong, and then it's downhill from there. So the frustration just keeps escalating. And you're like, no, I have to do this. So I think that's one thing for me. Working with pastry, making sure that I exercise the right level of patience and endurance. I even think I'm more comfortable with bread because I've worked a lot with bread than a variety of pastry. So, yeah.
And I'm proud to say I've participated in making bread multiple times.
Oh, that's good. That's nice. I like bread making.
So, it is actually, honestly, creating anything, including food, can be a very fun and exciting process because some people can see like what you are passionate about. Someone else sees it as a chore that they detest with every breath of life in them. But here you are making an entire present, past, and future out of it. And that is really something to be proud of. And I would want to ask, if I was a young chef, not even in culinary school, because the truth is, there are a lot of young people and not so young people because there's always a focus on young people. But there are a lot of not so young people who want to explore the path that you are exploring. If you were to give an advice to that young person and that not so young person, what would your advice be on how best they can embark on a journey that you are on already?
My advice would be work hard and be consistent. The truth of the matter is that working in the kitchen is not glamorous. It's not. It's chopping onions, it's peeling potatoes, it's washing the dishes, it's cleaning floors. But there's nothing there's so much that you will gain from that hard work and consistency that will now make you a pro, that will make you good at your craft. No matter how much there is a place for photo ops and social media, if you're not good at your craft, you don't have anything that you're holding on to. So put in that work, do those internships, aspire for those places that you want. They might not answer you today, but keep applying, keep going there, keep asking, keep trying your best, keep putting yourself out there. Keep learning from others and keep training yourself. It's not enough to say, oh, I worked at these places and now, okay, I can do these things. How much responsibility have you taken for your own learning? How much initiative have you taken? Do you ask questions when you're unsure? Do you go back and try the recipes at home? Do you go back and replicate it in your own way? Practice, literally, in this our craft, practice is what makes perfect. It's those 10,000 hours. It's those 18-hour shifts. It's those 20-hour shifts. And waking up again the next morning for another 20-hour shift. That makes a difference in you being able to stand in the kitchen and withstand the pressure. So one thing I would encourage you to do is don't despise the days of little beginnings. Put in that work and do it with joy. There's actually a place for joy in those grueling experiences that will make it bearable. Yeah. Do it with joy. Be kind to your coworkers, even if they're not so kind to you. Do it with joy, and that joy would spill over and make it way for you.
Listening to you speak, honestly, it sounds like everything you just say came from a place of personal experience.
Sometimes it's hard to do it with joy. That's the truth.
Because true, there are sometimes you enjoy what you do, but you might not be as happy in that moment. Not just because of the activity, but because of the circumstances and situations around the activity.
I love cooking, but 18-hour days are grueling. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing them for. They are grueling. They are hard. It's hard when you admit. Another thing I'll add is admit your mistakes.
Uh-huh. People don't like to do that.
Yeah. It's important. Even as a leader, you have to be able to say, oh, I was one that got it wrong this time. This was my fault. Oh, this soup went sour because I forgot to put it in the fridge. Oh, this happened. Oh, I have to admit to myself earlier on that I was clumsy. Very, very clumsy. And I have to tell myself that, okay, you have to know what risk you can take and what risk you cannot take. Other people might be able to hold 5 plates. If I know that I can hold 2, let me hold the 2 and deliver it successfully. Then I hold 3, and in the middle of the way, I have an accident. Sure. I have so many. I can tell one story.
Please, share.
So, it was in the middle of a busy service, and we had a vegan guest. And for vegans, we typically did like a fruit platter, but we'll make it very pretty.
Okay.
And I'd already started preparing some of the elements. And Chef said, okay, Moyo, go to the fridge. It was a working fridge. And get the tray of berries. And I was in a hurry, like I was, it was service. The adrenaline had kicked in. I was focused. I ran to the fridge, opened the door. I pulled out the tray of berries, and I turned around so fast that every single berry on that tray ended up on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And so I was on the floor, and then they now said somebody else, like, wait, she go and call her. And he just came and he just started laughing. I was like, you, this is how you are. So I had to realize that maybe my nature was to be a little bit clumsy, and I had to understand the kind of risk I would take. So I had to slow down. You cannot be too fast that you end up spoiling what you're trying to achieve. So knowing yourself is important, right? Understanding the flaws that you have and consistently combating them so that you rise above them is very important.
What you just said was very similar to what, like how a previous guest had mentioned. You said you can't be faster than yourself. You can't run faster than your shadow. I like the fact that you recognized and realized what you were not so good at and you worked on it. And it also comes down to how, as a culinary artist, as a chef, you should not pretend that you can do.
Oh my God. Please don't.
And this happens, you can even, bring it to like a more relatable setting. So for example, a lot of people, claim that they're in the catering business. You hire them to cook for a certain type of events, specific type of dishes. They're like, oh yeah, I can do that, because they think cooking is putting a bunch of things together and put it on the, stove, firewood, gas, whatever, and then food is done. But there's depth to it. I don't even need to be a culinary artist to appreciate that there is depth and intention to cooking. A lot of people just pretend like it's not so deep.
Yeah.
But it is.
Just to add to what you just said, there's depth, there's intention, and there's practice. Something might not be so difficult, but because I've not done it enough times, I don't have the confidence to do it well. And I had a particular intern at a point who, a perfect example is a quenelle. Mm-hmm. So a quenelle or a rocher is how chefs typically plate ice cream. Yeah. Like you take a spoon, you push it forward, you push it back, and then you put it on the plate. It looks so simple, but it can be very challenging, especially if the ice cream is not at the right temperature. And he always be like, oh, he can do a quenelle. And in fact, it was a bit arrogant when I was doing my own quenelle and struggling or trying my best to do my own. So I said, take over.
Go ahead and do this.
I said, no, chef, continue. I'm like, what do you mean? I you know how to do kernel. Please come and kernel the kernel. Don't even stress me. And obviously, he wasn't confident enough to do it. He might actually have been able to do it well, but he wasn't confident enough in that moment to take it from me and continue. But why? So why couldn't you just admit that? I'm not so good at this thing, but I think it looks easy, but I don't know how to do it.
Sure.
Simple.
And you would learn. At least, you would reduce the expectation, because human beings are not actually so difficult. You give me the expectation to, desire from me. Help me set the right expectation. I know what to expect from your execution. When you create this false impression that you are Gordon Ramsay, for example,
you're setting yourself up for disaster.
Exactly.
It's problem.
True. And that it really applies to everything we do in life. Always, as one of my guys will say, speak your truth. Don't overflow what you can do and what you can do. Speak your truth. And this now comes down to how we as people should be very conscious about the actions and inactions we take in the pursuit of our dreams. So in your situation, has there been anything that you really wish you could have done differently to help you on your journey as a chef?
That's a good question. Is there anything that I wish I could have done differently? I think it's just living in the moment. That's really it. Because in uni, I got the opportunity to do 2 internships in 2 different parts of the world. Okay. And sometimes, you're in that place of being like, God, let this thing just be over. I want to go home. But that 6 months, that 3 months, that 1 month, live in the moment. If you literally just dedicate your life to that thing at that point in time, you'll be better for it. Don't worry. Because I remember there was a place I used to work at, and Saturdays, you're finishing at like 1 a.m., you're walking home, you're seeing your mates in like the club, and you're like, bye guys, I'm going to sleep. Because this kind of, my life right now is this thing. My life right now is this internship. And it's okay. It's okay for your life to be like that for a period of time, because it will pay off at the end of the day. You can now change your routine and have a different perspective later on.
At least by then you would have made substantial progress in that thing that would help you get to where you want to
Exactly.
It's really, amazing speaking to you and, getting your perspective and sharing. Or, as we get towards the end, right? When it comes to perspective, how did your outside the country experience affect and shape your in-country execution of Atije experience?
I think it just gave me a level of exposure. One big thing that it helped me understand is that there's many ways to do something very well. There's many ways to be successful. When I was working in Belgium, I worked at 3 months at 2 different restaurants. One, Hofke Van Bazel, is a very formal fine dining. They have 1 Michelin star, 1 green Michelin star, white tablecloth. They iron the tablecloth. They measure where the cutlery is. The waiters are wearing suits, and then they come out with these big trays, and then they wear gloves, and then so it was very prim and proper. And that first felt like, oh my God, this is it. Then I worked in a different restaurant called Veranda, and Veranda was a gastro bar. They had a sign outside saying Michelin not wanted. We used to wear black, and then everyone, head chef to dishwasher to front of house staff, we wear this denim apron with these black leather straps, and that's what we wear for service.
Okay.
No tablecloths, wooden tables, no recession of cutlery. They give you a pouch that has all the cutlery that you need from the beginning, but the food was amazing. Hofke Van Bazel, their restaurant was literally like their life's work. Veranda, his children will come and eat family meal with us. They'll ride their bikes to the restaurant, but it was still an amazing place. She showed me that depending on your priorities, you can have a completely different reality, and that reality is amazingly successful to you. It depends on what you want. There's no one way to achieve, you know what I mean? There's no one road that will lead you to success. It depends on what you want in life. You can achieve success in a variety of different ways depending on what you want. And that, I think, opened my eyes to the fact that I don't have to be a particular person. I don't have to model my life after a particular thing. What do you want to achieve? Start your journey to achieving that thing. It doesn't, even if it's never been done before, it's okay. Because success is defined by you and not by anybody else.
Sure. Success in the easy you've been dropping. No, but it's true. Success is defined by you, because really, how do you define success? For example, we started this project, right? Somebody can call your stats successful. Somebody can call the ideation successful, because the fact that you can even conceptualize something, it's progress. Somebody can call the destination success. You don't define it for what what it is to you. And something very important you've mentioned, in fact, giving the example with restaurants, it brings to mind the fact that when you talk to some people, right, on how you want to establish and build your dream, they feel like there has to be this pattern that they must follow, or it has to be built this way. And it's not because they are trying to be original. It's because they believe, I've seen this person.
This is what I know.
This is what I know. So I'm going to do what I have seen and not try to innovate. But now these two contrasting examples, worlds apart, but winning. And it shows that even here in Lagos, as you said, Lagos has inspired you in ways that I can't even understand, truth be told, because as you said, you could be sitting in traffic and something you would see on someone's head walking beside you can inspire the next recipe, the next menu. So it means that as individuals, as right those listening and watching this podcast right now, you need to identify what it is you want to do and make it work for you based on your situation. You don't need to have all the money in the world. You don't need to have, because some people say, I must go to this particular school, I must have traveled to this particular country, I must have had some diaspora experience. They are good, and you have that, which is beneficial and valuable too. But something you mentioned is, it's not necessarily about where you are and what you had exposure to. The exposure gives you perspective. But now with digital media, you can get all the exposure and perspective you want if you are consuming the right content. Example, content like what you are sharing right now. Because you can't say you want to be a successful chef and then the content you are consuming is on the level that you are not even seeing yourself operating at. That is already limiting the growth that you can achieve and how grand your vision can be. Because me, for example, when I think of things, I don't like to think of things. I always think of what is the highest possible version of this idea and how can I dumb down to execute it. I feel like that's what a lot of people need to do, because it will make your journey all the more easy. It's been awesome speaking to you, Moyo, honestly, and I've learned a lot. And I'm sure you listening have also learned a lot from this particular episode of Takeaways Podcast. And before Moyo goes, I'd like her to share one piece of something she wants us to take away from this conversation, something that she wants to resonate. She has been dropping a lot of bombs, right? Like, they are going to sleep. But before you go, what is that one thing I would love to share? It can be anything.
And I'm just going to take inspiration from the menu that we did in February, just to kind of close out. And that menu was called Abinibi. Abinibi means native, it means authentic, it means indigenous. And that was, for me personally, quite a scary menu, because there were certain things that have been on my mind for like the past year, but I was always like, let's leave this one for now. It's too risky, it's too complicated. But they all came together on that menu. And so for me, it showed me the importance of authenticity, because the feedback we got from guests was really good. But for a long time, I had been avoiding putting myself out there like that. There's no one else like you on this earth. Like, no one else has the exact combination of who you are. So there is beauty and there's power in your uniqueness. And don't be afraid to share that with the world. There's so many things that we copy from others, that we gain from others, and we get from other people. But there are certain things that can only come from you. So don't be afraid, don't be scared to share that. Share it in a way that is respectful, that is humble and all that, but still bring it out and share it with people. On your journey, don't forget to share those things that seem crazy, that seem like, I don't think anybody else would think this is normal or good. Don't be afraid to share them, because those are the little things. So the little things that you bring to the table that changes the perspective of things. And at the beginning, people might actually tell you that it's stupid, but don't worry, keep going. At a point, it starts making sense.
True.
So we cannot undervalue the power of authenticity, of being your true self, of nativity, knowing where you come from, and harnessing who you really are.
Thank you so much. And I wish you the very best in your journey with Atije.
Thank you.
We're celebrating a milestone sometime in May. I'll let you announce that if you want to.
So Atije is starting 2 in May. It's been almost 2 years of doing monthly pop-ups, of private dinners, of canapé services, and also really just trying to create a new menu every single month. And I'm grateful.
And we celebrate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to your exploits You can follow Moyo's journey on socials. All her links are going to be in the description. You're watching this on YouTube, or link to whatever profile you're listening to this podcast on as well. So thank you so much and have an amazing rest of the week.
Thank you for having me. Take care, everyone.
We are 2 episodes into creating a community based on stories, and the last 2 episodes have been absolutely fun to create. We have so much more coming up in the next couple of weeks. Yes, every week for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be dropping something as part of season 1 of Takeaways podcast. So if you enjoy what we are doing, if you find value in the things we create, if you find values in the stories we're sharing, please be sure to follow this podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, or subscribe, depending on the nomenclature, and share this with somebody who you know find value in it. We appreciate you for working with us, and we will catch you next week.